Hello, drinking some. It's a warm day here in Nevada, so I am drinking some smoothie, very healthy smoothie, with some things that I would rather not have in it today. Just would like it to be sweet and fruity, but it's that. But then you have other stuff, and it's this healthy stuff like ginger, which sometimes fresh ginger is really potent, so it tastes like you'd rather not have it in there today. Anyway, hi and welcome. I actually was here preparing early and still had some drama with this thing, but gotta love it, gotta love it. So I'm here for our weekly Wednesday recap. Let me get more than just my neck up. Still trying to figure out. Sometimes it's too low, and then I put it on a box to make it higher and all that other stuff. But again, we are here. This is the live weekly Wednesdays recap, kind of the bubbles and the bears, and things are changing. So diving right in, as you can see, with me just talking and stuff like that. I guess it's all part of that. You feel it if you're part of the blue dot folks and stuff like that. Even if you're kicking and screaming sometimes, which sometimes I feel like I am with Javon. So, I can talk about the good parts, and then a lot of times I get to the Javon part, and you already know my face goes, Javon, stop. But he's a master teacher. He certainly got a lot of us here, so you can't necessarily you have the good with the bad with him as it stands and stuff like that. So everything is going well. They're working the kinks out, continuing to kind of stick to YouTube and not head back to Facebook. And that is true, how you have got to kind of do that. You got to kind of go through a few of the growing pains, and it's hard, and you're making the adjustments and everything like that. But they're doing it, and I've been here, needing to be more consistent myself, but definitely in terms of just with the changes that have come about and all of those types of things. So I put the post up to let people know that we are here. We'll see if anybody joins us, but at least they will know. Yep, it went up, so okay. And Chris is out of school, so who knows? Maybe she might actually watch me and I can go, hi, Chris. Chris is also, just like Javon sometimes. I actually really appreciate kind of when he says she's ditzy and stuff like that. But I think it is just kind of, you get to a point where sometimes because you are not worried about stuff, or you're not overthinking those things, and maybe there was a point when you overthought the wrong things, you just you're not paying attention to a whole lot of the crazy stuff. So you do miss things. You do miss maybe the small things. And I'm like that too, where a lot of times the small things, is as smart as I am, and I say that humbly, but I am, I can miss some very basic things, that are going on, and not spot some of the most simplistic things that other people might see, because I'm just not looking for it. I'm definitely not somebody who's nosy and all up in people's business. And ironically, being in this kind of coming out of this field where you're in psychology and sociology and things like that, when you might get privy to a lot of people's information, I'm really like, you don't tell me then. People like, oh, I don't want everybody to know. So definitely don't tell me. I'm okay with that. So sometimes I'm kind of like that too, in terms of just, the things that you miss, and you just, you just may not see. So, it just, their relationship certainly sometimes makes me laugh, and, but I appreciate them overall. So what's been going on in terms of the bubbles and the bears, and the law of attraction while Black, and the law of vibration while Black, which is kind of what I feel like I'm about. And I know that as I continue to progress with this channel, that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing here, as well as talking about some of my interests. They've been that's probably the first place to start, is that they've kind of been talking about, hey, everybody get on and kind of show your gifts and whatever it is, your talents and everything like that. And they're much more on the creative art side. And I do have some of that, but this is definitely my strength, and I think it's definitely needed. So this is what I'm doing. I'm doing my field that I studied in, the field that I worked in, and also the field that I think still needs a lot of help, even for people that, you know, I know and love and care about, like my family members, and kind of helping them and introducing them to these types of things. I'm going to be in New York shortly, hopefully, with my niece's graduation and prom and all of those types of events coming up. And this is a trying time for her, and she's back and forth with her college things. And I was just like, you know what? I am done going back and forth, you know, kind of make a decision as teens will kind of tend to do in general about a lot of things. But I think that, you know, for everybody, it gets to a point where you really kind of, and I try to be that voice of encouragement and hopefulness, and just, you know, right now, especially with us trying to do this law of attraction, and you're getting these signs and all of these types of things, where I haven't always necessarily been comfortable with signs and the numbers kind of situations for various reasons that I'll probably share along the way. But, you know, I'm getting there, and I have been, you know, but once you're building people up on a kind of a constant basis to say, hey, take the risk, jump, do all these types of things, see what happens. It seems like these doors are being opened for you on all these things, and they still kind of hemming and hawing and won't do it. You just kind of get to a point where you're like, here, this is your stuff. Take it, run with it. I'm done. And it's not a frustration thing. I'm really beginning to realize that you really have to, no matter who and how much you love the people and the person, you know, you really do just kind of have to get to a point where you have reached your limit of being pulled from. And that's kind of what I felt like, even with my niece today, who I love desperately and dearly, with her going back and forth with the college stuff. You know, I talked to her like for 20, 30 minutes the day before yesterday, and I thought we were like on the same page. And then today her and her mom are someplace else doing something else. And I was just like, you know, before I get angry, you know, let me state my exact feeling on this, because that's kind of what ends up happening too, you know, because you're trying to be, you know, supportive. You a lot of times won't say exactly what you're thinking because you're trying to be supportive. But then I just realized also, and maybe it's all part of source and attraction and vibration and all of what's going on for me, to just kind of learn sometimes too. Like I said, when it gets to a point where you have just shifted, for whatever reason, this particular thing has just shifted you. And that was just that moment for me today. So love them. And I will see them and be there and support and all of those types of things. But it was a good day for me to just be done. So what I'm going back to the Javon thing. As I said, they're going through kind of the growing pains of transitioning here. Let me turn my fan a little bit because it is warm here in Nevada, the desert, and we do have 100-degree weather months. Not yet, I don't think. But it is today. Let's see, what is today's weather? Sometimes I don't check, even I just went out to my mailbox and it felt warmer than the 80s. So what would that mean it is? It is, can you all see that? That's 91 degrees. It is 91 degrees in Nevada. Do I like 91-degree weather in Nevada? Because it gets to be over 100-degree weather in Nevada, yes, I like 91-degree weather. So this beautiful brown complexion is going to get browner, as you will see over the summer. And I don't use over-the-counter cream, lotion, and all those types of things. I definitely use kind of all of the natural oils and butter, shea butter, cocoa butter, all those types of things, which actually do not burn the skin, which is very good for our skin. I don't have any kind of skin problems, as you can see. If I told you my age, and you see I have no wrinkles at all. So that part is good, but it definitely gives me a nice layer of brownness, darker brownness, as it gets harder. So so it's going to be warm here, but Alas, you just kind of got to deal with that, and that's the fun part. I think eventually, as I said, you do one of these things when I'm walking around in my habitat and stuff like that. Call it a habitat. So, yeah. So, what are we doing in terms of the Bubbles and the Bears? I want to say, because they had a lot of kinks going on probably late last week from that Wednesday when I talked about them now being on YouTube, the Clarks. They were having a lot of problems. So they didn't really have a fresh day until technically Monday is when they actually had a fresh day back up and about, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. And it was actually a good session of vulnerability, a very rare moment of vulnerability for Javon. And it was good. It was actually really good. He just kind of talked about, obviously, how you kind of second guess yourself sometimes, and how you kind of overthinking things, and, and questioning your decisions, and how just things that we all just kind of go through. It's ultimately fear. Javon is not the type who's probably going to say fear, but me coming from psychology, sociology, that's ultimately what it is. There's always some form of fear that's kind of driving us in the good and the bad too. And there's that duality that we actually talk about, that if I put it in all technical terms, it would just sound boring. But I'm not going to also sit here shout and cuss. So that's, but just to say that, yeah, it was a kind of talking about our vulnerabilities. And I think that is something that we also need to do very much more of as Black people, dealing with the issues that we go through. Speaking of that, and I was like, it segues off or tangents off into something else. I did the first mental health talk. If you haven't seen it, hopefully check it out. It was on grief. And it was a reason that I did grief first before I got into depression. When we're talking about mental health, you would figure I would get into depression first. But it kind of ties in how with what they ended up talking about in terms of just the things not necessarily happening as fast as you would like them to happen. Ultimately, as I said, they didn't put it this way, but it was kind of a lot of this along the same lines, where you are thinking in your head about what's going on. You're really creating this story, and sometimes it starts out as this really small story, and then it becomes really elaborate, and it's this low budget movie, and then it becomes a big blockbuster, Transformers, all this kind of stuff. And you did all of that, and it's not necessarily in a good way. But you have kind of gone from just kind of what you did to whatever make your decision to this absolute worst case scenario apocalypse, when the Transformers are fighting the Decepticons and all this other stuff. I'm not a big movie fan, but I like action movies. So, just when all hell breaks loose, and we kind of do this in our head. And a lot of times, obviously, nothing has happened, but we are kind of, at the very least, if we're lucky, at the very least, manifesting the story, the horror movie that can happen when things are not going our way, and financially and all those things. And I think that is the case for a lot of us right now, in terms of things just not happening as fast as we would like them to happen. But the truth be told, is not as bad. If we're really looking at it right now, yes, I may need this amount of money for this thing and those types of things. And it's, it's urgent, and it's blah, blah, blah. And all these types of things are happening, and just all of the feelings that come with that, the nerve and the panic and the anxiety and all those other things. But the reality is, right now in this moment, look around, nothing's happening. Nothing's, I'm sitting here and, I'm not on the street, whatever thought it is that you start thinking, is none of those things have happened. And it's just that you created this story in your head to kind of go from. And with that story, you have kind of spiraled into depression. But a lot of times, as I said, we start with, and I knew where I was going. So as I said, when I started with the mental health, I started with grief, because Black people a lot of times deal with grief. And a lot of times for us, there's just these overlapping of emotions in terms of how it's, a death of a thing, how things don't work out. It almost always feels like some sort of death. And as a Black person, having an experience, particularly in America or in general anywhere, because anti-Blackness is global. It truly is. But definitely we know this week that we are dealing with Alton Sterling's murderers will not be facing any charges. And we also know that a little boy, Jordan Edwards, was shot in the head in his car leaving a party at 15 years old, 15-year-old boy, and ain't nothing gonna happen there either. And also the powerlessness that we feel from that. So this is one of the reasons that I started with grief. I was going to talk about this in the mental health video, which will be about depression, which I am going to do probably between now and Sunday. But now and Sunday is also the book club, but a whole lot of stuff going on, but look out for it. So I got into all of that to say, there's my big giant ball of a whole lot of these things kind of going on, and also tying it into what Javon and Chris are discussing, and just also my version of the law of attraction, the law of vibration as well, because it actually, the law of vibration kind of brings about the law of attraction, but you know, that's just my thing. And also talking about this Vortex books coming up for Sunday for the book club, and they actually start talking about relationships. So I'm not going to give it away. We'll talk about that on Sunday. So has that been a kind of a summary? I didn't get to today. As I said, I wouldn't be watching their things on the on the regular like I used to, because Javon sometimes is a little much. But Javon's no surprise to Javon. So, but I saw yesterday, I got to the part where they were sitting down. So basically, when he was just kind of talking about the Goody Mob song, which I thought was actually a good analysis as well, the Goody Mob song, and the analysis of why you may not have given birth to your idea, or giving birth to your I don't need to say as much, but just giving birth, as I'm trying to think of things, giving birth to whatever it is that whatever your creative process is at that particular moment, and why you felt it was necessary to kind of do that. I'm gonna see if I put this down. That. I don't know why it's okay. That is better. I don't know if you just heard me burping out my fruit. I really apologize for that if that happened. So let's see. All right. I just keep worrying about the lighting. My glass is reflecting, and then I have a little bling on both sides, so that even more so. And my hair, just the shrinkage is real, y'all. I ain't cut it, and I keep saying I'm gonna twist it, and you'd be surprised. This is just like a major hat that just shrinks down on my head. Oh, look at that. See, oil, nice oil, which is nice and oiled, but it's like keeps shrinking down in this heat. With the state that I chose to live in, I definitely better get used to either the teeny weeny fro or twist, which I think I prefer twist. So yeah, but just giving birth, or why you decided to abort your idea, your creativity, for whatever reason. And I thought that it was a harsh analysis, but it was a real analysis. It's in terms of just kind of, again, back to what it is that the stories that we kind of ultimately believe in our head, and how we end up not believing in ourselves sometimes because of those stories. So my water is over there, because I don't think I want to be sipping on that thickness while I'm doing this. So yeah. So Goody Mob, I was a little bit of a fan of them. I was probably just not that interested in rap in general by the time Goody Mob and Outkast were getting popular. I liked a few of their songs here and there, but in general, I didn't necessarily care for the direction that rap is going in. And I'm actually one of those people who will stop listening and stop watching and all those other things, and stick to it for pretty much the rest of my life. That's one of the reasons I really don't watch TV. I have that's another subject as well, because of the playoffs are coming on, and at the same time, you know, we're also seeing what they continue to do and how they continue to puppet and manipulate these young athletes who they need more than we need. They need them more than the athletes need them. But of course, we haven't been conditioned and brainwashed and programmed for anything, for nothing, right? In the sense that they have taught them that it is okay to believe that they control them. I don't even know how else to say it, and stuff like that. And I know everybody's like, well, they're paying them a pretty penny and all these types of things. But anyway, my whole point for this is that I'm kind of on the fence in the sense that, I don't think that we really should be giving our support to any sports because of what they've done to Colin Kaepernick. We really do have to get to a point where we just are just through with doing anything with these white people at all whatsoever, and stop trying to integrate and assimilate with them at all for anything, because they're just really horrible inhuman animals. I don't even know what to call sometimes. And I maybe there's some good people and people who believe that allies aren't a myth. I don't happen to be one of them and stuff like that. But it's just too much evidence. I mean, literally, we are at the 398th year of dealing with these people and just the atrocities that we continue to have to endure. And I know it has felt like a powerlessness with Black people for so long. We have not in our own mind been allowed to embrace our victimhood, which is a very real situation, and at the same time trying to stay alive and trying to get justice and trying to, again, assimilate into their systems that weren't intended for us and that they don't want us in. Just a lot of the contradictions of that and the dichotomy of that, and that just makes it absurd for us to continue to even try. I think I gave some advice at one point in this where I was just saying, stop doing twice as much, being twice as good for half as much. Stop. And people just, why are you doing that? Why? Just stop. And it's just no reason for us to continue to think that we have to do any of these types of things. Think that we have to work their jobs and all these other things. And I get it, Veronica. What are we going to do? Do you, and realize that will work and that will be enough. And that what they have told you, as like everything they've told you, is a lie. And that you can do and be in spite of them trying to kill us. Because they're not going to kill us. They are going to die. I did like when one of the days when Javon said about us kind of really just jumping on all in their bandwagons of panic with them, and about this global warming. I'm going to reach for my water. Back already. Okay. So yeah, jumping on these bandwagon of panic, as I like to call it, and we are and with the earth warming up. So no matter what, we already know Black folks, no matter what age, because they hurt and harm and do all kinds of stuff to us, and from the cradle to almost the grave, trying to put us in the grave, and we kind of see that all the way to them, assaulting, 80 and 90-year-old, our Black 80 and 90-year-olds, and obviously our little children. So, and everybody in between, man, woman, and child. But he made some point the other day that was just a really crucial point in the sense. And Javon definitely has this whole kind of oscillation going on, and oscillation, I think I said that before, you expect it to kind of go back and forth, and he does that a lot. But this was a good point in terms of him saying that the earth is getting warmer, obviously, and there's all these people talking about the global warming and stuff, and we know it's real and things like that. But again, another perspective and another way to look at it is that you know, maybe the earth is obviously the earth is going to take care of itself. We all know that that is true and stuff like that. But maybe the earth is trying to burn them people up, because they are that's true. They are the people. We are the people that will obviously survive the most, no matter how intense the heat gets. You know, we are literally made for it, right? Right? And they are not made for it in terms of their skin, and they are not made for it in terms of their DNA and recessive genes. So he just said it in a funny way, where he was just like, you know, maybe the earth is trying to burn these people up. And I was just like, you know what? Sometimes you don't really think about it that way, but it is one way of looking at it. You know, so I thought about that. And we are certainly in a situation where when these types of things happen, going back to the Alton Sterling and the little boy, Jordan Stewart Edwards, I think is his last name. It just becomes, right, so many of them, it's so pathetic that you end up having to go, okay, is that his last name? Because is this one? Because remember the other Jordan that was killed by the white man who went home and went to the hotel and ate pizza, his name was Jordan too. So I forgot what I was going to say now. Once I even just went and just, this is another Jordan, and you're just trying to figure out their names. But just, you know, how we kind of keep having to go through these things, and that this is daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, you know, decades, you know, half century, a century, that we kind of continue to have to deal with these things with no change, with no justice, continuing to ask for the same thing. Well, what is it that we are supposed to do, you know, and continuing to expect the same results? First of all, trying to work with them, or expecting to work with them. Should we be silent? No, we already know that. We already have and continue every single century. Our parents, our parents' parents, everybody let them know their displeasure. They had less options to exercise in terms of letting their displeasure be known. We are probably, this generation, able to give the most exposure to it. But also with this exposure is, in a sense, becoming, you know, the desensitization of it, and the apathy and the pushback from the racists who are happily racist and want to be out and about and letting it be known that they don't give a damn about none of that stuff. And, well, what did they do? Obviously, we often have to question, what did they do? It's just kind of all of those things that become exhausting. And as I said, we started off talking about grief with the mental health, and I'll be dealing with the depression aspect. And it's kind of, I'm already, this is a little prelude, that word to it and things like that. So I guess, you know, but on a happier note, to law of attraction and law of vibration, we are going to be okay. It may not feel like it. See, fruit. That's why you say you don't want to eat those things before you get on camera and be all self-conscious. We have some challenges. They have solidified their laws. We are not powerless. Less. We are powerful, and that is why there has been this war. And I think, as I said before, that is very much in the energy realm. They did solidify a lot of laws in this physical space that they have occupied and taken from. And it ain't one of these things, in my opinion, from this religion thing, or waiting around for them to get theirs, because they need to get God now. They deserve everything they get, and I have zero sympathy for them and any type of bad thing that happens to them. I don't pray for my enemies. I don't do any of that kind of talk, none of that kind of situation. But I think, speaking for Black people, this is for Black people dealing with living while Black, that you all just keep living. You all keep doing, keep succeeding, keep winning. That's part of the problem, is that they keep continuing to try to squelch you and suppress you and harm you and do all of these things, and you keep winning and you keep growing and you keep living, you know, and they keep trying to kill you. They keep trying to prove that we are the bad ones and all of the stuff that they're doing and stuff like that. And it's just not working out. And we got to continue to keep living. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do, and there's going to be people whose lane it is to be out there protesting in the street. And there's a lot of us, obviously, I'm probably more on the side of talking about the economic power and also us dealing with our mental health and stuff that we have never dealt with in the past and all that kind of things like that. But we have to get to the point where we're not even comparing ourselves to white people except to say we're better than them, because we are. They already know it. That's why it's been this little bit of now starting to come out with every door starts to crack open. When there's millions of those doors where it cracks open about the harvesting of the organs. It's not just physical superiority. It's a whole lot of superiority going on there. But it was so funny. And I'm going to put that book on. Speaking of which, one of the members on Turner's Church suggested that we do Powernomics by Claude Anderson. I'm going to put the link up for that book after this Vortex book on Sunday. But he suggested we do that book for the next book club. So I said, yeah, but you know how that happens. You'll say, yeah, and then nobody read it and ain't nobody there. But I'm like, okay. Like I said, we know our Black folks, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to read it. I'm going to be there for the next book club. And so that will be for June's book club. And we'll see who else shows up for the suggestion of reading this particular book by Claude Anderson, Powernomics. So look out for that. And where are we in time? Oh, okay. I wasn't even looking at the time, which I guess was a good thing because I just have a lot to kind of catch up on. That's what the weekly recap is about. Talking about just about everything. But I know I said that to say something that I will come back to. I'm usually like right on my game, but I just had still have a lot of things to do even when I get off this line today. So I guess that's just one of those things sometimes where you just kind of come on and you have a lot going on and see fruit and burping. And on camera, you're like, what? Stop. Please stop. But yeah. So, but yeah, that book, and then I wanted to do see, I know it comes back to me. And then I wanted to do the next book after that. I wanted to do, unless somebody brings another book, I wanted to do the Shack book. And the Shack is this book. I think some people already who on the church, who involved in the church have read it. It's been out for a few years now, I think, and they just recently made it into a movie with one of our favorite actresses, Octavia Butler, and she's just really killing it and stuff. And I'm glad she got to be a part of it. But reading the book, I have some opinions about it. So, and as I said, I'm not a Christian. I'm not an atheist. I'm not agnostic. I believe in a spiritual foundation, which I know already ultimately comes from the origins of people who look like us. And then it just got taken and distorted. But it's so funny as you start to find out situations and circumstances. And of course, because they almost totally annihilated our culture and our history and any reference to the past for us. And you get bits and pieces even from their first slave manual, which is the Bible, and their playbook, white supremacy playbook, which is the Bible. And part of that is also their confessional, which is the Bible. It's those kind of three things: the slave manual, their white supremacy playbook, and also their confessional. And a lot of times you also can get some of the stories that are originally stories, because almost all of the references to pretty much Israel and Egypt in the Bible is you could probably allude to that being Africa. And a lot of the crap that they did, and that, you know, the bad guys weren't necessarily the bad guys, and God went in some parts maybe when black people, and God in some parts when we were white people. And, you know, it's such an interesting thing as you start to kind of really learn to connect the dots and put the puzzle pieces together of a lot of these stories of his story that they have compiled, created, and concocted to sedate you. I know I put together all kinds of words. Yes, I'm making myself laugh. I mean, I don't know if it's funny to you, but it's funny to me. So, so it's just, yeah, it's just a lot of bullshit, you know. So it's just, but in that you will find, we can find and dig through the debris and find our history. Now I am not going to grab that. It's just warm today, y'all, so I'm just making sure I got to stay hydrated and drinking a lot of liquid. Usually in the summer, definitely go through 2 or 3 of these bottles. So I buy big ones and then just filter them through and all of those things. And I think I'll start sharing some of that as well. I want to share some finance things. So all of those things on this channel, and obviously for me, it will be all coming from the socio-cultural or socio-psychological aspects that help Black people, and also how we can pool our resources. This is the age of the internet, and how we should be able to do that, and how we should be able to learn how to set our children up and not buy into this system that has you working jobs that you don't have to work, and all of these types of things, and how there's actually ways to be able to do that and be able to do your own thing. I had to learn it after going through trial and error, and now I finally am learning all of it. And it's such an interesting thing where you're just like, wow, if I had known it. Sometimes I guess it is a situation where you have to learn it when you're ready, because maybe had I learned it, I would have still messed up and blown things and stuff like that when I was younger. But now I kind of know it in a way where I know it will help me to do a whole lot of things that I hopefully will be able to help my family and help people who want to be helped. And a lot of times, unfortunately, sometimes your family is not gonna want to do it, you know, and you'd be like, there's no way, how could you not want to do this? Because you have to do a little bit of work, but this is something that's going to set you up. It's not some get rich quick scheme, but this is actually something that if you can invest the 24 months or whatever that you would waste just sitting around in some white man's job, this is the kind of stuff that will have you set up for everything, that whatever it is you want to do, by investing this short amount of time. If you don't invest this short amount of time, where are you going to be in 24 months? So 24 months from now, or rather, let's just say 2 years. I like to say 24 months because then you can just tick off the month. Okay, 1 month down, so 23 to go, 2 months down, so 22 to go, you know, one more month to gone, so 21 to down, you know, and those types of things. So it's just that kind of process. But 2 years from now, in 2019, making sure that you have kind of set yourself up where you can buy a house, and and I'm saying buy a house and not be working for nobody. And you know, have good, excellent credit and buy a house, and you know, and have really, it is possible to do. How do I know? They've been doing it. We want to stop comparing ourselves to them because we're better than them. But again, we have been conditioned in their systems, the systems that we need to reject their systems, reject their narratives. They were never even buying into their narratives. They needed enough of them and us and all the other people below them, right? The bottom 99% or whatever, believing or drinking the Pool-Aid that's full of toxins and all of that kind of stuff. Not the Kool-Aid, the Pool-Aid. And that's what they have had, right? But you don't have to do those types of things. So all of those things kind of just tie in terms of the law of attraction. The first thing about the law of attraction is obviously very understanding the good with the bad, or as in the Bubbles and the Bears has said with Javon and Chris, right? The high and the low, the blame and the accountability, the heaven and the hell, all of those types of things. And we know obviously that's made up. It doesn't exist, but it exists enough, especially for Black people who are totally oppressed and chained literally by their heads to the church steps. And y'all need to get that image in your head, because Black people are fucked up from the church, so fucked up. I want to just be emphatic about that, how fucked up Black people are because they are dealing with the church. It is just unimaginable, especially with all that is happening right now. and white Christians pushing the agenda, and people still going in those plantation pews on Sunday. And make no mistake, I have family who does it too, and I still speak their language. I wouldn't take it away from the old people. I'm trying to talk them out of it at this point. But for anybody, anybody who wants to hear it, but definitely for anybody under 40, don't fuck with the church at all, because they have been fucking y'all over for a while. And I'm using the cuss words on them because y'all are just fucked up going into the plantation pews after this election and what them 81% of white people have done. So do I have anything else? This was kind of my recap about Javon's Vulnerable Monday, which was good. And that's the thing in terms of just be transparent, just be open, just say sometimes I'm hurting, sometimes I'm afraid, but I need to kind of get up and do it anyway. Do it afraid. Get up and make some progress. Get up and make some plans. Get up and be about your business, not your father's business and that dumbass church stuff again. Your business, this vessel that he has you using for however long for you to be about something. And also, don't stay wherever you are thinking that you need to be in no job for no 20 years. I already done told you don't work no overtime. Don't use words like retire, because you need to have a purpose-filled life, not a person-filled life. Everybody trying to fill some hole in their heart with a person. How about fill it with a purpose? And a lot of times those other things will come as well. But definitely don't have no words like retire. It's not to say that you need to be busting your ass working. I ain't getting up and working for nobody else either, as much as as hard I'm trying, right? You know, when you're trying to do this new thing, as I just talked about earlier, and I will share at some point, I need to put it in some sort of structured form. And maybe with Black folks, you got to make them pay for it, because you already know if you give them for free, ain't nobody going to do shit with it. And these are the tough love things when you got to talk to Black folks about, because sometimes you try to help them, and you just be like, maybe they'll get the ones that's going to pay for it and see how it goes, because we don't have to do any of these types of things. There's plenty of them who know they ain't paying no taxes. They ain't working no jobs like that, all this kind of stuff. And we around, and they got enough of us conditioned to sit around thinking that we got to be doing those types of things. So just kind of be working on your plan. You are your vessel. You are your source. If you still on your God thing and all that stuff, that's fine. I'm not putting it down. I did get in saying that the church is mine, fucking y'all, and I still believe that. But again, that's me saying my thing, and then I get off of that. But but for the most part, just be about getting busy, staying busy, staying alive. We already know. Trying not to deal with these racist ass cops. I know some of y'all living in some treacherous Baltimore, Chicago, LA. I'm born and raised in New York. We already know them white racist devils. Texas, all these different places with these racist cops. It's not even every state. You might as well just say just any police force whatsoever. So you just trying to stay out of their way. I saw that they're just going after this poor community where they just giving them bullshit tickets for just to keep their, literally to keep their town, I don't even know, treasury bringing in money, just ticketing these people for really just nonsense stuff that they done had attached to their house for years. And and it's true. It's just like, what do we do? Why does these things keep happening? Why is this? It is true. You have if you stand around and ask why, it would make you crazy. And I understand for Black people, we do not ever get a chance to necessarily rest and say that we are tired. Or at least long enough to say we're tired without having to get up and go. And it's emotional. And I empathize with us because I'm part of that too. I just understand and am fortunate enough that I am a little bit clearer here and clearer and stuff, even with my health and stuff like that. Speaking of which, as you can probably already see, I'm losing weight. Look at my neck though. See that when you start, you lose weight and then those lines show up and you're just like, what? So yeah. But yeah, losing weight. My face is slimmed down. I looked in the mirror today. I was like, okay, which is good. It's just one of those things where you also realize that it shouldn't have been up there in the first place. But there is ultimately a lot that we're going through, and then we also have to kind of do our own thing. So that's when it comes into this mind thing, getting into this body thing. That was what they haven't really we're still kind of on the 21 days, and I have not, even though I have tons of my runs or bikes in here, as I said before, I have not uploaded any of them. Maybe I'll just upload them all today as one big giant, hey, I missed so many days kind of situation. But yeah, just keep going, keep doing everything that you are doing for you. And don't be afraid to be selfish. Don't be afraid to make yourself the priority. Because if you can help you sometimes, as much as we don't want to necessarily be selfish, we need to be, because then we'll be able to help other people. It really does work that way. And you already know, a lot of times, especially with Black folks, let's just call it, because that's who we talking to. Our Black folks are sometimes difficult. We've been chained in the brain, and first of all, physically, and a lot of now mentally and stuff like that. And people are not going to do anything until they see, what you've accomplished. Let me really see some of the results and stuff like that. And then when you start telling them, oh, it was the law of attraction, law of vibration, then they ain't going to want to hear that kind of stuff. Then they're going to be like, no, really, what you did? What did you do? And you still trying to teach them on that level. So, figure out how you can put it in a little 10-page booklet, pamphlet for your family, and sell it to them. Be like, yo, this is, you're going to be, really, you're going to sell it to me? And be like, you read this, I'll give you a $10 refund. You read this and give me a report on it, and I'll give you back your $10. And then we'll go from there. And I'll show you how to make money that'll last you for the rest of your life, those types of things. That's what my plan is. That's what I'm doing with the rest of this year, to make sure that I'm like, hey, fam, if y'all want to be down with me on this, y'all are my first people I'm coming to. I don't want to go to strangers and they be on board, because that's what happens. That's what Javon even was talking about. When none of his family bought the detox, and then now all of the people that have been down with him in the Bubbles and the Bears, a lot of them have bought the detox and things like that. So that's how things are. It's a little ironic, but that's how it works out. So, you still kind of love on your family, but you just kind of have to keep going ahead and looking back, and keep your binoculars in your as you're moving forward, and just look back on them every once in a while and be like, okay, I got them. Stuff like that. As long as we have this technology, and we'll bring them along little by little in the background and stuff. But you got to just keep doing you. And right now, the good thing in terms of a lot of what's been happening is just kind of keeping my mind right. It's not always been easy, but little steps, baby steps, some days, sometimes big steps. And then some days big steps, some days baby steps. And definitely working out has been a little bit of a bigger step, making sure, and you start to see some results. Like I said, I'm not a scale person, but I was just trying to think of what my estimated weight loss is, because I know women kind of care about that. Actually, no, let me be me, because I don't care about it. I know, the clothes that I have on even right now, the jeans, I think these jeans, let's see, because I still got to work on my belly. And then I want to show y'all my underwear, even though they're cute pink. I was trying to see, but I think these are a stretch, because I have not told my size, but go ahead and tell my size, right? Size 10. But these are stretch 10s, and these stretch 10s on me are loose. So that's what my tag says. Of these cute little, I thought when I put them on, see how when you put on your clothes, let me see. I thought they were blue jeans, they're black jeans. And they are stretch, and they are a size 10. And all of this extra give, and my cute little booty. and all of this excess here. So still working on the midsection, but even that, if you look at my first book club video from now to what it was, I guess it'll be time to do some before and after pictures. That's the only thing that I confess I am not comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with pictures and really any of this face stuff online. So I've got to work on that and stuff. So, but there you go, in terms of just putting in the effort and believing and getting up and doing the work, and even remembering to compliment myself. And this is my day to kind of pat myself on the back and say, hey, you know, Javon started this, so, you know, when we started doing kind of the working out, the 21-day wellness and total man, total woman, that's what it is. We're still doing total man, total woman. Riding my bike, and eventually getting on, well, maybe not actually, as it's starting to get hot, we'll see. But riding and jogging, just trotting a little bit and things like that. But eating right, I haven't been eating any meat. I didn't have really any cheat days. I had to stop in Taco Bell's, and I got a bean burrito because I was going out with a friend and I hadn't gotten breakfast. So, you know, and that's the whole thing. Sometimes it's not hard ultimately when you just make the decision that you're just not gonna have the junk. So so we just rolled into the Taco Bell. I was like, let me just get a bean burrito, $1.50 for a bean burrito. So, and that's what I had to eat, drinking lots of water and eating the vegetables and the G-bombs, which stands for the greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. G-B-O-M-B-S. Green G-bombs. So you can look that up if you are not part of Turner's Church and the Bubbles in the Bears class. That's kind of where it started. I do need some variety in terms of my cooking. So because Javon was doing some cold stuff, and I was, you know, sometimes I'm cooking for one, and eventually we'll maybe always open and receptive to be in a relationship. I know I have not talked about any of that. Don't worry, I will. To a certain degree, but sometimes for me it's also small meals. Certainly is also with regards to eating right and exercising, sharing some of that first of all with you all, but also I don't like to eat the same thing past 2 or 3 days, right? I know Black folks be like, sometimes we just one foot out the projects and talking about, you know, we want to be all selective and things like that, but you know, just smaller portions and not the same things over and over again. So be blessed at the point that I'm at where I can hopefully have a little bit of variety in the meals that I have. So I saw actually a nice lady on here. She's kind of, sometimes she gets in her religious thing too, but other than that, she Chef Mama Rosa. If you don't watch her, you can watch her. She has some good recipes. I was looking for somebody on here who kind of somebody Black who was doing some decent recipes, and there was another one too. The lady Mama Fee, who passed away, you know, with her cussing self, kind of stuff like that. She was interesting, but obviously she wasn't cooking no health food, and she passed away of a heart attack. That was just very tragic. But this lady has some really creative ways of putting together some food and also talking about some health things. So she's somebody worth watching if you all are interested. So that is all I have for the weekly recap. Wasn't really a whole lot of bubbles in the bears for me, honestly. So I guess sometimes when I'll be coming on here, don't be expecting me to help y'all get caught up, because if I ain't catching up either, I'm not watching it as regularly. And while they're kind of, I can see that their numbers have been lower in terms of views while they're online. I'm looking at them right now on my screen for J. Michael Clark's. Why was I so today? But for his channel. And he and he didn't have a lot of views going forward. since he's made this transition. So it's just one of those situations where as things kind of start to change and grow, hopefully we will embrace it and grow and change with it. I intend to. I like what Turner's Church is doing. I like the Clarks. I am Blue Dotted Line, sometimes kicking and screaming, but you can't deny what you can't deny in in some ways. But he will also give me a lot of fodder to talk about what not to do, like talking about no little babies and little kids and stuff like that. Having sex just way too young, because again, Black people lack a lot of communication or have piss poor communication with their children. And we need to work on that, because there's no way in the hell no 8-year-old, no 6-year-old should be letting him have no sex with no 14-year-old. That is just so unacceptable. And yes, he did say that in one of his conversations before, and then repeated it yesterday. So let's just not do that. We don't need to. I probably don't need to tell a whole lot of Black people that. It seemed like it would be obvious, but well, sometimes, as I said, once we get to Javon and when he really goes off the rails, it's just, this is my face. All right, so then I pause them, and then sometimes I don't even get back to watching it. So such as it is, but I do appreciate a lot of the people that I've met through the Bears and the Bubbles first, and then also through Turner's Church. So that is it for the Wednesday weekly recap and chat. I think I changed the name of it. So weekly Wednesdays recap and chat, or chat and recap. So that is what it'll be. And I will see you all next Wednesday. Thank you for checking it out and stopping by, and your support is appreciated. Bye now.